Thank you for tuning in to AM Radio. I'm going to go ahead and talk about a time that um, I went with a couple friends, quite a few friends actually, at least like maybe 6 to 8 people. We decided to go ahead and go to the mountain areas in the area we live in. If you know the area, it's let's see, it's going west on the 10, and we would exit off of Alabama, like in Redlands. You go down, and I believe you would make a right on what is that street called? I forget what it is. It's you definitely make a right on it, and then you could go ahead and take that road all the way to the mountain areas. The mountain areas that we would go through are like places called Forest Falls. Now, we would always go in that general direction to go ahead and get away from the city, and you get into the mountain areas and the woods, and we would just go and have a good time. Now I remember one time we went specifically to go ahead and just get in the wilderness, get maybe a little bit freaked out. And in our group of 6 to 8 people, I believe we went in maybe three cars deep. I remember I was with my friend Ernie. I was with my girlfriend Spooky, and then like a group of her friends as well, and a couple other cars. And we went into a place we called Deep Picnicking. It was just this area that was never closed off. You could go ahead, and when going towards Forest Falls, you could just go ahead and pull off, and just there was a parking area, there was a picnicking area, and then there was like a stairway structure you could go ahead and go down into and just go into the woods. We're in the parking lot of the area. We're planning on, like, what are we going to go ahead and do? We had done this numerous times in parties of 3 to 4 people. And, you'd go through the woods with a flashlight, hop over creeks, and get to a certain area where the water would be rushing through, and just the rocks, and just, experience nature at night. It's scary because there is wildlife out there, and you never knew what you would run into. And I remember during this time, everyone was like huddled up talking about, like, they were just making discussions, whatever. I went ahead and started by myself looking at like the the little graphs that they had about the birds and like other wildlife that was out there. They had that displayed like on like the little walkway right before you would go down. And I decided, I was like, you know what? Everyone's just talking, and I want to go down to the woods. And I started going down the stairs, and for some reason, I found myself being like, you know what? Um, I don't, I don't want to go. Like something was just telling me, it's like, I might want to wait for everyone. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. So I proceeded from going down to going back up the stairway and to the parking lot where everyone was. So I hopped in the conversation that was going on. It was nothing important, and then all of a sudden, we I remember hearing like a noise, and I told everyone, I was like, hey, well, do you guys hear that? Like, there's a noise coming from the trees in the direction that we would be walking, and everyone got quiet, and then we heard it again. It kind of from what I remembered, the noise was kind of like just like a low kind of grumble, and it it didn't make any kind of like sense being in the woods. It was kind of like a low kind of like just echoish noise. One of the friends that we went with decided to go ahead and whistle, and he went ahead and just let out this loud whistle that just echoed through the mountains and the area that we were, and it went from like that low grumbling noise to quiet, and then like a noise of like whoo whoo, And we were just like, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds weird. And they're like, that sounds like an owl. And I was like, that doesn't sound like an owl. And I think we went ahead and he whistled again, and then we heard it again. Whoo, whoo. And we're like, it doesn't sound weird. And then all of a sudden we heard go, whoo, whoo. And I was like, that's not an owl. That's a person. There's no other cars in the parking lot. And from where we were parked, there's no other parking lot where you can go ahead and park and just like hang out or anything like that. There was somebody in the wooded area that was close enough that we could hear them going ahead and making that noise, and us to hear them and they could hear us, and most likely they can see us in the parking lot. And I was like, we need to go. I was like, we need to go. Like, this is extremely unsafe. And I just remember I was like, let's go. So I remember telling him, I was like, we need a bounce. So I was like, let's just keep going more west into the mountain area. So we got in the cars and we left that area. We got to Forest Falls, which is like pretty much like the dead end of that street, and it's literally in the middle of the mountains. There's like a river that's going through it. You can hear it once you pull up, and it's just woods, river, mountains, just wilderness. And I remember everyone got out of the cars, and we were starting to talk. I was like, that was strange. I was like, that was scary. It was one of those things. It's not supernatural. It's not anything that was, well, it's unexplained. But at the same time, I was like, that was a person, and there was no cars around, so it was scary. And so we were hanging out in the area that we know it was Forest Falls, and we all started going into the woods. So in the group that we were, we just kind of scattered, like, went all around, in the trees and stuff. And then all of a sudden, other people started showing up. Like another carload of people showed up that weren't with us, and there was maybe like a party of like 4 or 5 people. And we're like, hey, blah, we're just exploring too. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then they went into the woods. We kind of were like sticking to our own group, and we're just like hanging out. There's benches and like people. We were just hanging out, and then all of a sudden, we heard like people running through the trees, like they were running to their car, and we're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" We don't know if there's like bears or like mountain lions, which those animals are like prone to being in that area. And I remember at this point we were just like, "Well, that's creepy." I was I remember I remember not being in like where the benches were at the stuff at this point in time when we started hearing like people running, but I do remember my friend Ernie was like he was tired, and he was like in his car, and he was just pretty much waiting to go at this point. And I was like by the car, and I remember hearing, oh, okay, the worst blood curdling scream I have ever heard in my life. Like, I cannot mimic it. I've never heard it in any kind of movies. I've, I, it was blood curdling. Somebody screaming in the woods. As soon as that scream happened, it was like I got scared, and I went into alert mode. Ernie in his car, he started his vehicle, and I just remember looking at him, and he was like, "Get in the car, we're leaving. If you're not in this car in 10 seconds, I'm leaving without you." It was like one of those screams like, you're panicking, you don't know what's going on, you need to bounce. Or you might be the one screaming next. It was terrifying. It was so scary that all of us in our group of 3 cars, all the people that we were with, we left. We left. Everyone got in their cars and we all bounced back down to the point where the moment that we got to, I believe there's like a 7-Eleven gas station that to where you would have service. We pulled into and we're just like, what do we do? Like that scream was terrifying, and we're just like, call 911. Just call emergency. And we were like, what do we tell them? Just call and make an anonymous call. Tell them that we were there and that there was this blood curdling scream. We have no idea what's going on. We're just reporting it, and then hang up. And that's what we did. I don't care if anyone says like you guys are pansies, you guys are cowards. You know what? In a situation where you're in the middle of the woods and already running into a situation where we heard the mimic of an owl made by a person, and then we go deeper into the mountains, and then we hear a blood curdling scream. No, I ain't messing with that. I'm glad everyone that I was with didn't want to mess with that either, and everyone left. Yeah, of course, years later it was like, yeah, we should have stayed. We should have made sure something wasn't wrong. No, no, I'm not messing with that. I don't care. It's one of those things that's definitely, if you were to ever hear that type of scream, you you don't like. Everyone always says like, I would have stayed there. I would have checked out what was going on. No, there's a it's it was bad. Like there's nothing about it. It it was the scariest moment that I could actually say that I've ever been in a situation where I was with people and it just seemed like I was helpless for that brief moment and I just wanted to leave. And I can understand why the person I was with is, you get in this car, we're leaving now. I understand that. It was definitely a terrifying experience that I had. And you know what? Um, Go ahead. You can ask a question. I don't know how I'm going to answer these ones. But go ahead and do it and just let me know. Leave a like and leave a comment. But overall, take care of yourself.